Welcome to Ryan's Running Reviews in partnership with Roadrunner Sports, and today we're taking a look at one of the most interesting super shoes on the market. It's the HOKA Cielo X1. Let's run with it. Before we get started, I do want to say these shoes were provided to me by Roadrunner Sports. However, no one had a chance to preview this video, and this final synopsis is my own. I'd also like to say please leave a like on the video and consider subscribing. Here we go. The HOKA Cielo X1 is one of HOKA's top tier super race day shoes intended for the half or full marathon. Basically, this shoe is designed to make you go fast and give you a ton of spring and cushioning underneath your foot. There's also the HOKA Rocket X2, HOKA's other super race day shoe. That's going to be their lighter racing option, which is about a full ounce less than the Cielo X1, which comes in at 9.3 ounces for a men's size 10. And because this is a premium race day shoe, it comes with that premium price tag of $275. As far as the stack height goes, we have 39 millimeters in the heel and 32 in the forefoot for a 7 millimeter heel to toe drop, which is somewhat unique for HOKA, as most of their running shoes have a 5 millimeter drop. Now, I think the reason this shoe has a slightly higher drop is because of its rather unique rocker geometry, which we will touch on later. The upper is quite fascinating. We have an engineered knit material, which is not elastic at all, which I think is important on a race day shoe. You can also see directly into the shoe itself, as in between these large vertical lines is a little bit of stitching or mesh, which gives you top tier airflow. As far as the fit goes, I think it is true to size. It's not overly narrow like some other super shoes, and actually has more room to it compared to the Mach 6, which I thought had a really snug fit to it. So for a super shoe, it's going to be a little bit more accommodating, although I wouldn't say this is wide by any means. Moving to the back of the shoe, the heel counter itself is quite flexible and bendable. There's not a lot of structure to it, with the exception of the large plastic overlay at the very back. There are two small foam blocks on the inside of the heel counter that give you a little bit of padding and a small notch for your heel to slide into. The tongue on this shoe is a knit material, which is super elastic and stretchy. It is gusseted on both sides and has large holes which give you even more ventilation. At the top of the tongue, we have a large tongue pull tab, which I did have to use because getting my foot into the shoe was quite difficult. Now, the reason it was hard to get my foot in this shoe is the lacing system is different. You have two interaction points where the laces have to go through the upper compared to one, like we see from most other running shoes, which means the laces don't want to move that easily. You have to use a lot of force to get extra material through the custom lace slots. The laces themselves are also quite fascinating. They are these large, flat, synthetic or plastic-like feeling laces, which make it even more difficult to get it through the extra lace slot for each section. So once you get your foot in, you get everything set up. It feels quite good. I thought the lockdown was okay. It wasn't great. I wish the heel counter maybe had a little bit more structure, and I may in fact swap out the laces or just take off one of the lacing slots at each section to make it more manageable and easier to get the lacing and lockdown just right, just because it was a bit of a pain to get everything set up. But otherwise, I was quite happy with the upper. Again, laces just a little bit strange, and I do wish the heel counter had a bit more structure to it, but otherwise I was quite happy with it. And now for the midsole. This feels like it's on a world of its own, feels completely separate from pretty much all other running shoes, so let me break it down. Starting with the midsole, it's a PEBA material, which is one of the top shelf foams that running companies use in their race day shoes. Gives you a lot of energy return, is super soft and bouncy, and I think this implementation works quite well in the Cielo X1. Now, to stabilize all this PEBA foam, we have a full-length winged carbon fiber plate, which is super stiff and rigid. This shoe does not want to bend or flex at all. We also have three stability wings, one here on the lateral side, one at the top of the toe box, and then one here on the medial side. Gives you a little bit more support and helps again wrangle in that super soft midsole. There's also some unique geometry here. On the lateral side, you'll notice there's a large cutout, where on the medial side there is not. And I'm assuming this helps give you some guidance as it keeps your foot from rolling inwards and gives some easier lateral compression. So between the carbon fiber plate and the unique geometry, it helps kind of keep you going in the correct direction and keeps the instability to a minimum. And last, and this is definitely what gives the Cielo X1 its special identity, it's the rocker geometry or the curvature to the midsole itself. Now, most running shoes have a rocker or some kind of curvature in the midsole. However, this rocker geometry starts much sooner and is much more aggressive. So you're going to be on your toes a lot faster, and this thing just pushes you forward in a way that most other running shoes just don't. So when you combine the soft midsole, the full-length, stiff and rigid carbon fiber plate, and the really aggressive rocker geometry, you have a ride unlike pretty much any other shoe out there. Moving on to the outsole, we have a surprising amount of rubber coverage here, and I think it's part of the reason why the shoe leans towards the heavier end of things at 9.3 ounces. You have rubber from heel to toe, which is quite nice. I thought the grip was fine. It is a rather smooth traction pattern, and we have some cutouts which allow you to see that carbon fiber plate. I did get some rocks and acorns and just things stuck in the midsole, so be on the lookout for that. I was running and started to notice this strange sensation directly underneath the middle of my foot, and I just had this large kind of nut jammed in my midsole. So it is a little bit of a collector just because of how that soft foam allows for things to squeeze in there and then stay in there. Be on the lookout for that. But otherwise, I'm happy to see a lot of rubber, even though it does kind of add to the weight. So what do I think of the Cielo X1? Well, this is definitely a fun and different shoe. And that's all because of the rocker geometry. I've tried other running shoes with PIBA midsoles and carbon fiber plates, and I really like how those perform. However, the rocker here is just what separates this shoe from the pack. It puts you up on your toes and just keeps you moving forward in a way that no other shoe has made me feel. Now, I have to say this shoe isn't my favorite at those medium to slower paced runs. It really needs to be used when you want to push the pace, and for me, I like this on my longer efforts just because he has that ton of cushion under your foot and it just wants to go fast. When I slow it down, it feels like the shoe is like, hey, why are we slowing down? We want to go fast. So if you're someone who's trying to get that zone 2 heart rate training or wants to take it easy, I don't think the Cielo is for you. And then the upper, I thought it was fine. My only issue, I think I need to swap out the laces and see how it performs with something different, or just undo one of the lacing slots so they slide around a bit easier, just because getting everything situated was kind of a pain. And again, I do wish the heel kind of maybe had a bit more structure to it. But otherwise, again, this is just a fun shoe. Give me a carbon fiber plate and a PIBA midsole all day long, and then we throw the crazy rocker geometry on top of that. It just gives you a whole different world to experience. Well, that concludes the review. Let me know in the comments what you think of this incredibly special shoe. I would love to hear from you. I'm Ryan from Ryan's Running Reviews, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Thanks.